It's time again for the Science Bowl.
Zoo parade for 5. What big teeth the hippo has are actually a pair of these. Science potpourri for 10. Would a snake most likely eat every day? Every week, Dateline Science for 10. Why are some elephants wearing necklaces these days? Green things for 15.
And now, here's your host, Mr. Z himself, Dave Zarin.
Thank you and welcome to the Science Bowl. We're getting very close to the end of this, our 35th season here on the air in Prince George's schools, and this has been a historic year. We've been on Zoom the entire time. All of our students are safely at home. I'm here in the Science Bowl studio. It's a little different. I wish the students were right here with us, but we are making do and we're having a fine competition this year. For those of you that are just tuning in, we've changed some things from our normal routine. Our students don't have buzzers. Each of our 2 teams today will have 18 questions apiece. Different questions of equal difficulty, though. They start out with 50 points just for showing up and looking as good as they do. And the team that is ahead at the end will come back to play long fields for the chance to be the second of our 2 finalists in this year's elementary school competition. So you're seeing the best of the best here today, and we invite you to play along with us and see how many of these questions you can answer yourself. All right, let's tell you first, before we introduce the teams, what we do here on the Science Bowl in terms of categories. We have 6 categories of questions. And again, if you're tuning in for the first time, these are they.
Okay, Mr. Z, here's today's categories. Green things, questions about plants and all things green and growing. Zoo parade, a Noah's Ark of questions about animals. Body systems, we'll see how much you know about yourself, about things like breathing and growing and digesting your food. Let's get physical. Questions that test your knowledge of physics and chemistry, earth science and space science. Then there's science potpourri. Here's a grab bag of science questions, everything from air pollution to the kitchen sink. And finally, Dateline Science. We'll ask you about science history and science in the news.
It is now time to meet the first of our 2 teams today. We have Hyattsville versus Ridgecrest. Let's go to Hyattsville first alphabetically and meet the team. First, our captain is Arlo. Hey, Arlo, welcome to the show. Next, we have Ellie here. Hey, Ellie, give me a thumbs up. That's the way. And Samuel, how about 2 thumbs up? All right, he too seems to be ready to play this game. All right, Hyattsville, let's get started in the green things category. I have a 5, a 15, and a 25-point question. Here is that 5-point question in green things. In botany, there is no such thing as a vegetable. Lettuce and spinach, for instance, are leaves. Potatoes are called tubers. And corn, tomatoes, and string beans, like apples and oranges, are these, since they result from ripened ovaries.
Fruit?
Fruits. They are all considered fruits. A vegetable is just a term that is thrown around by lay people, but not scientists. Fruits is right. Got yourself 5 points. For 15 points, a jagged leaf, jagged, J-A-G-G-E-D, a jagged leaf described as dentate, D-E-N-T-A-T-E, looks like it has these around its edge.
Teeth, because dental dentate. And then it's jagged teeth.
Teeth is right. You got it, Arlo. That's a toothed pattern around the outside. Excellent. For 25 points. A tundra is a kind of ecosystem found in northern Canada and Russia. There are no trees on a tundra because the temperatures are too low and this period of time is too short.
Summer? Spring? I feel like it's the warm seasons.
What we were going for there was the growing season. The growing season is too short, so it can overlap spring and summer, even extending into fall, but it is too short in the tundra. Let's go to the zoo. If you're familiar with the Wizard of Oz story, I want you to imagine that Oz were an underwater kingdom. Dorothy and Toto, on their journey, on the yellow brick road might not have feared for sea tigers or sea bears, but some of these real sea mammals might have been lurking.
Sea lions?
Sea lions is right. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! Good answer. I'm glad you figured that out. For 15 points. Because of the classification group to which they belong, starfish are sometimes called these, the very same name as celestial bodies that orbit between Mars and Jupiter.
Is that the asteroid?
It is asteroids, absolutely right. Sometimes, yes, they even look like asteroids. That is what starfish are called. You figured it out. Well done. 25 points. It is thought that the fluttering of the wings of these lepidopterous insects can set off catastrophic events like hurricanes all around the world.
Butterfly.
Butterflies is right, Ellie, the chaos theory. A butterfly flapping its wings in China can eventually start what can turn out to be a hurricane in the Atlantic. Amazing theory. Let's go to the body systems. Nicely done. For 5 points. According to the lyrics from the song, 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. About working in a coal mine. Humans, according to the song lyrics, are made of muscle and blood, and these two other body parts, the same ones that someone who is extremely thin is said to be made of.
Skin and bones.
Skin and bones. Muscle and blood, skin and bones. Perfect. For 15 points. In Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice, the wily character of Shylock demanded payment of a debt, not with money, but with a pound of this F-initialed living material of which we are all made.
Flesh.
Flesh. He wanted a pound of flesh. Nice job, guys. 25-point question in body systems is a visual question. Let's look at it. The new television comedy called Be Positive is about a man who needs a new kidney. And like so many people in his situation, since his kidneys aren't working properly, he has to be hooked up to a blood cleansing machine and undergo this D-initialed procedure. That's known as kidney dialysis. Dialysis cleanses the blood of its impurities. You had a great first round there, Hyattsville. You're 135 points. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Talk to you about yourselves and your schools, and don't lose your mojo. It is now time to meet the Ridgecrest Elementary School Science Bowl team. And would you please meet right now Liana. Liana, wave to everybody if you would. And Heron is here. Hey, Heron. And Marcos is with us. Hey, Marcos. And who's my captain today? All right, Liana. And she's in charge, and she knows how to be a good captain. All right, guys. Here we go. Let's start with your green things questions. 1 for 5 points. Here we go. The Hasbro toy company has just dropped the Mr. from this tuberous vegetable character in the Toy Story movies that can famously change his eyes, his nose, his mouth, and even his ears. Mr. what?
Mr. Potato.
Mr. Potato Head is right. Yeah, got yourself 5 points. For 15 points, let's look at a picture. It's a visual question. The nutmeg spice, so important to making pumpkin pie, is a seed from a coniferous tree, like you see here, a kind of tree that, since it keeps its leaves year-round, is also known as this kind of tree.
What do you guys think?
A coniferous tree, since it keeps its leaves year-round, is also known as this kind of tree.
What do you guys think? Are you really?
Huh?
Maybe like
It's actually called an evergreen. An evergreen tree is another name for a coniferous tree. Like a Christmas tree is an evergreen. All right. For 25 points, let's get this one. Get yourself 25. Because plants are the source of so many drugs, you might say that gardens and forests were these kinds of P-initialed stores before CVS and Walgreens came along.
Pharmacy?
Yeah, they are natural pharmacies. Thank Liana. Good, you got yourself 25 points. Now you're cooking. Let's go to the zoo. A children's novel, for 5 points, about these nocturnal birds is called Hoot. Owl is right. Yeah, thank you. You all knew that one. Thank you, Marcos and Liana and Heron. For 15 points. If your room, and I'm looking at it right now, is a real mess, but I'm sure it's not a mess, but if your room is always a real mess, your mom might say that it resembles one of these porcine animals' sties.
Pig.
Say it again.
Pig.
A pig, that's right. Mom, you say, room of yours looks like a pigsty. Well, I'm sure she doesn't say that to you. Nicely done. Thank you, Marcos. Got yourself 15 points. Let's go to the 25-point question. The author Herman Melville had obviously studied something called cetology. C-E-T-O-L-O-G-Y. Since he wrote a famous book about a great white one of these mammals.
Shark? The great white shark?
A great white whale. A great white whale. Moby Dick was its name. Author Herman Melville wrote, but great white shark was a good guess. Let's go to the body system questions. 5 points. The top bone on your spinal column, the bone that helps hold your head up, is named for what mythological Greek who had to carry the world around on his shoulders? Have you ever heard of Atlas? Atlas.
Oh, yes.
Atlas, the strong man. He's the one that carried the world on his shoulders. And that top bone is called the Atlas bone because it's carrying your head. All right, let's go to the 15-point question in body systems. When talking about someone's weak spots, people often mention the body part that this mythological Greek Achilles famously had.
Heel.
Heel, that's right, Marcos. Achilles' heel. I didn't read that question so well, but you answered it perfectly. Let's go to the 25-point question. It's a multiple choice question. This will be the last one before we take our first break. You're going good. To get children who are allergic to peanut butter. Anybody out there allergic to peanut butter?
When I was young.
No, I'm glad you're not. To get children who are allergic to peanut butter to be able to start to tolerate it, begin to eat it, doctors will sublingually apply small amounts on the roof of the mouth, under the tongue, or under the skin. To get kids used to peanut butter, used to the point where they can finally eat it, doctors will sublingually apply small amounts on the roof of the mouth, under the tongue, or under the skin.
Under the tongue.
Under the tongue is correct, yes. Sub means beneath, and lingual refers to the lung. Nicely done. What a great first round you've had there. All right, Ridgecrest, you are now at 140 points. You're sitting pretty. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Talk to you about yourselves and your schools and ask you your next 9 questions. It is now time to talk to that team from Hyattsville. You might have seen them before if you've been following our game this year. They are great. They've won twice already. They're here today. They're aiming for a county championship. They want to take on Longfields. I know they do. They have to get through their next 9 questions. Let's ask a little bit about each one of them. Let's go to our captain, Arlo. Arlo, I like the shirt you got on there. You're a proud Hyattsville Elementary School student. Arlo, tell us a little bit about Hyattsville. I know you haven't been there much this year, but what's great about your school?
Well, I really like the school it's not. But under quarantine, all the teachers are amazing job. And I feel like they
Wow. The after-school activities, they mean an awful lot. Classroom work is great, but extracurriculars are important as well. Arlo, I asked you before, why don't you tell us again for people who didn't hear you, what do you want to do when you get older?
well, a few of the options that I'm about are landscape, like theater, or maybe like have a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Landscape architecture, everybody wants to live in a nice house. They want to have all the surroundings look nice, and you'll never be without work because there are always people who don't want to do that themselves and don't have the creativity or the time to do it. So you're a detail guy, and I can see you doing that. Good luck in the second half here. Let's talk to Ellie. Hey, Ellie, nice to have you back on the show. What is it about the Science Bowl that you like? Why did you want to do this?
I like it. It's just and be on here because my brother was on here last year.
Well, we're very happy to have you here. Your audio is not so great here, but I am able to hear you, I know, when we're in the midst of the game. And Ellie, just keep up your good work because you've come through with a couple clutch answers already, and I know you're going to be a great asset here in the second half. Let's talk to your other teammate, Samuel. Samuel, the new kittens, have you given them names yet?
Yes, one is official, the other isn't.
Nice.
One is named Halo because she likes to chase her tail, and she looks like a halo when she spins.
Nice.
And the other one's name is Bubbles because Bubbles.
Bubbles because Bubbles. Yeah, Bubbles is a name that doesn't need explanation. Tell me about yourself, Samuel. Someday, you can be a veterinarian? You like animals enough to do that, or what's your plan?
I don't really want to be like a veterinarian or get like a medical degree or anything. I'll probably be doing a lot of odd jobs before I get like a big job that I do a lot. I don't really know what I'm going to get as that big job.
I think
I
that's...
don't really care because I don't have to worry about it right now.
You certainly don't. But we adults, we always seem to want to know these things when we know that a lot of things are going to happen before you have to make that decision. That's a very wise answer, and you're a very wise young man. All right. It is now time for Hyattsville to answer their next 9 questions from Let's Get Physical, Science Potpourri, and Dateline Science. So if you're ready, Hyattsville, here we go. Let's get physical for 5 points. From Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet, there's a beautiful quote. Juliet talking about Romeo. When he shall die, take him and cut him out in little ones of these, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. The sun also is one of these in the sky.
Stars?
Stars. Cut them out in little stars. Perfect. Stars is right. For 15 points, the SLS, the Space Launch System rocket that will carry the next Americans to the moon, will be capable of generating 8.8 million pounds of this force to break free of Earth's gravity.
Do you think it's thrust?
It is thrust. Perfect. 8.8 million pounds of thrust to get that into orbit. 25 points. Big one in the Let's Get Physical category, Hyattsville. Some of you, I hope this has not been happening in your neighborhood. Thieves have been stealing catalytic converters from automobiles. They're underneath. because they contain a rare, very expensive chemical element by the name of rhodium, R-H-O-D-I-U-M, that is derived from what other element with the symbol Pt?
PT.
Is it potassium?
Anybody have any idea what
silver?
Pt is? Samuel, what are you saying?
It isn't silver.
Thought you had an idea there.
If I had more time, I'd be able to answer.
Yeah, I bet you. Yeah, it's hard when you put on the spot. It's platinum. Platinum. Platinum is the element with the Pt symbol. Let's go to potpourri for 5 points. You know, during the pandemic, a lot of people have been lonely. So they've been buying dogs. They've been buying cats. And some people have been visiting farms to cuddle these bovines, known for their contentedness and not being moody.
Cows.
Yeah, they've been hugging cows. That's it. Good. For 15 points in potpourri. To rid themselves of parasites known as copepods, sea slugs, snail-like mollusks without shells, have been seen to decapitate themselves, meaning they literally lose their what?
Heads.
Yeah, they lose their heads. That pops off, the rest of the body dies, and then the head regrows a new body that is parasite-free. That's a pretty radical behavior to get rid of the parasites in your body. Nicely done. All right, let's move on to potpourri for 25 points. This is a multiple choice. Beyond our solar system, there are objects mostly made of frozen methane and ammonia. One of them is named Xena for the fictional warrior princess. These objects beyond the solar system circulate in a belt known as the Copper Belt, the Kuiper Belt, or the Kepler Belt. Copper, Kuiper, or Kepler Belt, beyond our solar system.
I think I've heard of the Kepler belt.
Say it again.
I know it's the asteroid belt around.
Okay.
Kuiper.
Okay. All right.
Do you have any
It's up
ideas?
to you. Arlo, we've heard a couple suggestions. Which one did you want? Did you want Copper,
I think.
Kuiper, or Kepler?
Kepler.
Kepler. Actually, it's the one in the center, the Kuiper Belt. And if you look at a diagram of the solar system, you'll be able to make that out. Let's go to Dateline Science. Let's see if you can get these. For 5 points. Before Dmitry Mendeleev developed this, John Dalton had created a chart that had only 12 elements.
Oh,
Periodic table.
Periodic table is right. Yes, you all got that one. Good answer. For 15 points, I have a visual for you. Let's look at the picture. When NASA sends men and women to the moon again, the astronauts will be in a spacecraft named for this constellation that looks like a hunter.
Orion.
Orion it is. Good. 25 points. Let's get this one to finish out your game. Here's a quote. Science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. So said this French scientist who discovered a cure for rabies.
I have no idea.
His name was Louis Pasteur, who also came up with a way for getting rid of bacteria in milk through pasteurization. You end this game with a very formidable score. You have 195 points. That's great, Hyattsville. Let's see if that's enough to win the game. We'll bring you back up with the team from Ridgecrest just a couple minutes. Thanks, guys. Super work. It is now time to meet the team from Ridgecrest, and they've been here a couple times before. You know they're great. But if this is your first time to meet them, let's introduce them to you, and let's talk to the captain, Liana. Liana, nice to have you here. How did you guys prepare for the Science Bowl? Because you really know your stuff.
Thanks to the
Wow. Well, you guys have really done well, and you kind of finish each other's sentences, which means you've been working hard, and your coaches have been working hard with you. Someday, oftentimes I ask students what they want to do when they get older, and I say, Mr. Z, we're too young yet. We got plenty of time. But do you have any ideas yet?
But in my spare time, I will be a writer.
Oh, wow. A writer, did you say?
Yes.
And you see, good writing and good speaking go together, and you're obviously a good wordsmith, and that's going to serve you well. Good luck in that, and also in the second half here, Liana. Let's talk to Heron. Heron, nice to have you here. You look like you're having a good time. Not only are you having a good time, but you're doing such a great job here. What do you like about the game?
I like how we get a chance to work together to answer the question.
Absolutely right, yeah, because 3 heads are better than 1, aren't they? 3 heads are better than 1. What would you like to do when you get older?
I want to be an astronaut, not in soccer, but I haven't decided yet.
Wow, I think you're going to be successful because attitude is so important in life. And you're someone who likes to engage in things, and that's going to be really important to you no matter where you go. Nice to have you here. And let's talk to Marcos. Hey, Marcos, nice to have you back on the show. Marcos, how do you know so much science? You do?
I like to study, and I just study it.
Listen, you like to study, and it shows, and it's paying off today. And no matter what you want to do when you get older, keep studying. Because here's the truth. Adults don't like to tell you guys this, but homework doesn't end when school's over. All your life you have homework. You didn't want to hear that, but it's not quite the same, but you have to do your homework. All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's get physical for 5 points here. If you're on the swing, do you guys still swing, or are you too old for that? You're never too old for that. If you're on a swing, as you swing back and you reach the high point way up here, before you descend, you have your maximum potential energy. When you reach the bottom of the curve on your way down, you're maxing out this kind of energy.
Kinetic?
What do you guys think?
It is kinetic. Thank you, Marcos. Indeed, you are moving. That's the energy of motion, kinetic energy. For 15 points, we have a visual question for you. The N-initialed science show on public television is named for this kind of star that suddenly gets brighter.
I think it's.
Can you repeat the question?
This N-initialed science show on television has what same name as a kind of star that suddenly gets brighter?
And I don't think so.
It's called a nova. Nova, N-O-V-A, is an exploding star. Good try. Let's get the 25-point question. All right. We know there are a lot of different kinds of catastrophic storms on the world. We're always hearing about people with houses being blown away. It's terrible. Well, Saffir-Simpson devised a scale to rate hurricanes. Charles Richter has a scale to measure the strength of earthquakes. And Mr. Fujita's scale measures the strength of these catastrophic storms.
Tornadoes?
Tornadoes is right. Tornadoes is correct. Nicely done. Let's go to potpourri. You're doing great. The water temperature in the Pacific Ocean near South America ultimately determines our weather. by causing patterns known as El Nino or the other, the reverse?
Can you repeat that?
The opposite of the weather-causing currents in the Pacific Ocean, the cold currents known as El Nino, is the opposite. Warmer water produces this pattern. Say it again, Liana. Not El. La Nina, the little one. All right, so close, not quite. For 15 points, multiple choice. If a person has something called a tracheotomy, you know we have a trachea in our throat here. If a person has a tracheotomy, does he or she have the trachea removed, suffer from an infected trachea, or have a hole cut in the trachea? You think it's what?
She said they're removed.
I'm having a hard time understanding you guys there. All right, yeah, lean in so I can hear when you speak into your microphone there. Okay, so a tracheotomy is when your trachea is removed, if the trachea is infected, or if someone has to cut a hole into the trachea. So 1, 2, or 3.
I think it's 1.
All right, Marcos, hold up a finger. 1, 2, or 3. 1 being remove it, 2 being it's infected, or 3, a hole put in it. You're doing 2. All right, Heron is doing 2. All right, Liana, you vote. 1, 2, or 3? Give me a finger. 1, 2, or 3? Number 2. Okay. The correct answer there is a hole put into the trachea. Sometimes people, they can't breathe. They can't. So a doctor will make an emergency tracheotomy, cut a hole here to let air go into your lungs. Sometimes that happens on an airplane. And sometimes they use a pen. Sometimes they use a knife. It is to save someone's life, a tracheotomy. All right. Let's try the 25-point question. Do you know little Miss Muffet who sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey? Along came a spider and sat down beside her and scared poor old Miss Muffet away. Well, if little Miss Muffet had been intolerant of this milk sugar, she would have turned up her nose and not eaten the curds and the whey. Curds and whey are made of milk, and milk has a certain kind of sugar that some people cannot digest. Name that kind of sugar.
Calcium.
Not calcium. Lactose. Lactose intolerant. And a lot of times in the store you'll see lactose free or lactose free for people who can't eat dairy. All right, Dateline for 5 points. All right, let's see if you know the solar system. The Twitter handle for astronomer Mike Brown is Pluto Killer. Because he demoted Pluto from being a planet. He kicked Pluto out. One of Pluto's sins, the reason why he said Pluto couldn't be a planet anymore, was because it crossed the orbit of what 8th planet? Something real planets never, ever do. What is the 8th planet?
Wait.
Is it?
Marcos, what are you saying?
Uranus?
He's saying Uranus. Heron, what is the 8th planet? Do you agree that it's Uranus?
Yes.
Correct answer is Neptune. Neptune is number 8. Pluto was number 9. Let's go to 15 points. Dateline. You know, all that you see on TV today is people getting shots. Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, COVID. All right, it's a terrible thing. We're trying to get vaccinated. Well, turns out that after you get 2 shots, we may need another one. What B, as in boy, initial term describes the extra 3rd shot that might be needed for people who are already vaccinated.
Can you repeat?
There is a B as in boy, a B initial term to describe an extra shot to help after you've already gotten your first 2 shots.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of a booster? A booster shot. It's like a booster chair for a baby who's sitting in a regular chair, something to give you a little bit of a lift. All right, for 25 points. Let's get this one. Let's get this one for 25 points. It really adds your score. 25, last question of the game. Here's a quote. I am among those who think that science has great beauty, said this Polish woman scientist who has a chemical element named for her. Its symbol is capital C, small r. Name that woman.
Wait.
I know you've heard. If you've been watching this show and old shows, we use this all the time. She's the only woman. Marie Curie, she was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and then she won a second one. And her husband was also involved in that, and her daughter won a Nobel Prize. Still, you earned yourself 170 points. That's way up there. Will that be enough to win this game? We'll let you know in a couple moments when we bring you back with everybody. Well, we knew it would be a close game because both these teams were so well staffed. They did such a great job earlier in the season here. We're proud of all of them. This has not been easy. You're sitting at home by yourself. You can't share ideas, and yet they rose to the challenge, not just today, but twice before. We congratulate all of them, and we are proud of each of our players today. Our final tally today is Ridgecrest 170, Hyattsville 195. So Hyattsville, congratulations. You will be playing Longfields for the chance to become one of the 2 finalists to vie for the county championship. Let's have a round of applause for that Hyattsville team and for that Ridgecrest team. Pat yourselves on the back. You all deserve it. And you know, this show wouldn't happen without you. You know, we want to do it. And without coaches and principals, and especially all of you youngsters out there, you know, this is not easy. It certainly hasn't been easy this year. You stepped up, and we admire you for your courage. And, you know, I hope you come back and play next year when we can have you here in the studio, when hopefully this pandemic is in the rearview mirror, because Science Bowl is great this way, but it's really great if you're sitting here in this studio at Bonnie John's. As I mentioned before, you don't know where this will lead. You know, this could be the beginning of a career in science or some other career, but I hope you look back on this and always remember this is a souvenir experience, something that you can be proud of, and it showed everybody in Prince George's County what great students are, and you were part of that. You were part of this wonderful thing. So thank you so much for being here, and we're going to say goodbye now. I'm Dave Zarin. Until next time, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you played along today, and I hope you got some answers right. Bye-bye now.